Hello, internets. This is BoneCarlos coming to you live from Neo Planet S. With me, as always, is Nav. How you doing over there, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. The players today are going to be FundManager spawning as the Red Terran. His opponent is going to be GeMiNi spawning as the... Is this Teal? Teal Protoss.
It's a sharp color.
Yeah, that's an interesting color. So it could be that it's not a ladder match, but more than likely, since both these players don't know each other, it possibly is. But I've always seen red and blue.
Even for unranked, yeah.
Yeah, even for unranked. So this is interesting. But whatever. Beside the point, this is going to be a TVP or a PVT, whichever one you guys prefer. And it's going to be among Masters level play. So both these guys better be doing some crazy, cheeky shenanigans, especially since one of them is Korean, apparently. Or maybe he was just asking a question. But out of both these players, we see just... basic stuff out of in the first minute and a half, obviously. Now, TVP is very interesting in that I can't figure it out. I think my win rate is 20% going up against Terran as a Protoss. Nav, you have a little bit more experience in that nature. What do you think?
Well, I think you're not doing enough double gas all-ins, Bone. You got like 8 different ones to pick from for Protoss right now. I mean, that's at least what the meta game is from what I've seen, because double gas can mean so many different things. It could mean Oracle in their base, it could mean Proxy Oracle, it could mean DT, War Prism DT, or it could just mean they're getting a mothership core and expanding with one gate, which I really don't see. I wish I would. But you know, it just depends on what you wanna go for. I've even seen some 3-gate involving oracles because they crush Marines. So if you have a certain build that Marines are going to be the bane of your existence, get a couple oracles.
There you go. So yeah, and double gas coming out of GeMiNi. That's something that I really don't do.
Big shocker.
Yeah, I still haven't caught up with the HOTS version of PVT, so I still single gas into a quick expansion, and I usually get crushed. Usually in Terran, so I might have to look into a little bit more of a double gas, like you were saying. But already we see, both players putting down, or actually Barracks already done for FundManager. Gateway done for GeMiNi Cybercore. So basic out of both players, and we actually see a Reaper. So it looked like it might have been an 11-11. I wasn't paying too much attention to that, but an 11-11 for a Terran player, if you guys don't know, is the quickest possible timing you get for putting out those Reapers. And when I mean 11-11, 11 barracks, 11 refinery, that's the quickest you could pull out a Reaper. And here it comes. It looks like GeMiNi might have scouted this. Let's see if he does react accordingly. He did have a scout off of the refinery and the barracks, but he is chrono boosting out that stalker, so more than likely knows it's coming.
Yep, and he's got a mothership core. He's going to be completely safe from this. The mothership core is an air unit that can hit ground units. I really don't expect him to do too much damage with this Reaper because part of the Terran metagame these days, and this is for TVT and TVP. Not sure about TVZ because I'm a little bit of a one-trick pony on that one. But for the rest of them, opening a Reaper, just look around, see what they can see, is very much in the meta right now because it's so easy. Just hop up that ledge, great speed, check out what they got, see everything, and just go home. And just make the one Reaper. So you're not really slowing down your production that much because they do take 45 seconds to build.
Right, and immediately GeMiNi was able to lock it down, pretty much shoot that Reaper away. Tried to stop this command center from going down, but unfortunately the probe was taken down. But what I did like about GeMiNi's play, he waited until the Reaper was destroyed until he put down his Nexus. So he was very astute or aware of that. And the Stalker's over here pushing at the front. If he could bring this SCV down, it could spell disaster. But no, there's another SCV there for repairs, so he's gonna be a-okay. This SCV, one more shot will go down. The bunker isn't finished just yet, but the SCV brings it back up. Bunker's down, and he's pretty much gonna be safe for the time being.
Yep, that was very clutch because that Stalker, if microed correctly, can be a huge annoyance. I've lost games just straight out the box just because he killed my SCV building the bunker and just out-microed the Marines. So you'd be surprised how effective and really detrimental that can be with micro slip-ups.
Yeah, I've been on the other side of that fence. I've won games just because of a single Stalker where I did so much GRA. So it looks like it was this is what is it? A setup match? It's unranked. So
yeah, this is clearly a custom observer match right here, because that just really threw me off right now. I was like, wait a second, is this game over? No, things are still moving.
So there you go. So it was an observer game, like you were saying, and this Sentry might be trapped in with these gateways. But no, like I was saying, yeah, I have won games before with the single Stalker getting those getting those 3 or 4 SCV kills along with those 3 or 4 Marine kills, because as you're saying, micro properly, Stalker does beat Marines 1-on-1, even 2, maybe sometimes even 3-on-1. But with that bunker down, he looks like FundManager is pretty much safe. Both players are just going down their respective tech paths. 3-gate Robo coming out of GeMiNi with his expansion. And checking out over in FundManager's base, he just finished up his switcheroo on the factory, so reactor factory. Double Widow Mines are coming out, single medevac coming out of that starport. So very lean play by FundManager, not a lot of add-ons, no upgrades just yet. He's focusing really on his macro since his harvester count is around 27, generally around where you want to be at, especially with that mule backup.
Yep, that's right. But those mules count as 5 to 6 SCVs, depending, I guess, on travel time, from what I've read. But it looks like he's gearing up for a Widow Mine Marine drop here. What he can always do is boost over in the mineral line, and then just kind of like click on the mines manually, and that way it'll drop them in a nice spread out position. Really helps you do more damage, because if the probes run one way, there's a mine there. They run the other way, there's a mine there.
There you go. So yeah, and speaking as a Protoss player, I would hate that, but if this happens, it'd actually be a very good play by FundManager. Let's hope he can actually pull this off. He picks up 2 Widow Mines, looks like he's going to pick up a couple more, and I was following this medevac, and it might have been caught out of position, but it looks like the Stalker's going to push forward, get a couple of shots off on these Marines, and there goes that medevac straight into the main base of GeMiNi. No reaction just yet on those probes. It looks like they are going to burrow. Finally, he's going to head and pull them off, and Zealots are there with that Observer. Oh, looks like the Observer isn't there yet. Looks like a couple of Zealots were taken down. There is already an Observer on the field, but it's already halfway across the map. And there it is. It's finally back. These Widow Mines. Let's just say this drop was largely ineffective.
It really was, and the funny thing is, I was gonna say before when he had only 2 Widow Mines in that dropship, if he had 4 in there, and then he just goes kind of diagonally across the mineral line, you can wipe out entire mineral lines. If you're quick enough, you can wipe out entire mineral lines if they don't respond quickly. And if they do respond fairly quickly, you're still going to be able to do pretty good damage, because the mines are all in kind of spread out, so you're going to get something either way.
Yeah, and very true. He did kind of clump them together just a little bit. He managed to take down a couple of Zealots, but not really what you want to be doing with those Widow Mines. Now there's a photon cannon there in GeMiNi's natural expansion there for protection. Double Forge, Twilight Council already being built, so GeMiNi is just gearing up for, I would say, a long-term macro game, especially with that Double Forge already pulling that Twilight Council. So as soon as that's done, as soon as these chrono boosted upgrades are done, they'll be able to move on directly onto step 2. While at the same time, FundManager is pretty much doing the same thing. He has double engineering bay. It looks like he's gearing up for some sort of bio with Widow Mine backup, since he's researching both armor and upgrades for his infantry. He is building an armory. It's just finished, but more than likely that's going on for stage 2 of his upgrades.
Yeah, very, very true here. And then, yeah, this is gearing up to be definitely a more biocentric type of play here. Well, which depending on if he can cause the Protoss to split up here, maybe do a drop in the main, pull some forces, and then just go in here, he could do some damage to the main. This photon cannon is really not in a position to defend the front at his natural. It's more so to kind of deter drops. So the front of his base here, if he can get in there, he could really do some damage if he maybe did multi-drops, split things up, because this map is very difficult for a Protoss to hold on to a third base if you abuse the mobility of speed medvacs. I think Protoss is mostly veto this map at professional level.
Yeah, and look at this, and it looks like FundManager was there. He is. He's finally trapped, not even picking up his units. Finally picks up the medevac full of units and gets on out of there. But he was in trouble for for just a little bit. He loses a Marauder in the retreat. Finally, the third Nexus does go down, but at the same time, third orbital command for FundManager is placed down as well. Both these players playing very lean. I wouldn't necessarily say greedy, since they are playing very defensively and offensively. Pretty much what you want to see in a TVP early on. You want to see the Terran player use those medevacs. I would actually like to see FundManager use them a little bit more extensively, like you were saying. Split up the Protoss army, drop here, drop there, and it looks like he's going to push forward. No stim used just yet. There it goes. Nope, it's not. It's going to go ahead and focus down this next side. It might actually get it down, but no. Warping of Zealots finally forces the bio army of FundManager to retreat, pull back, and there goes. One medevac does go down, so 3 of the 4 medevacs do manage to head on home, but do about half of hull damage to that Nexus. And so yeah, but like I was saying, both players are being very just evenly matched. But I would like to see FundManager do more of those multi-pronged drops that Terran is pretty much known for.
Yeah, but I think honestly, I mean if I still played BioStyle, which I don't, then I would definitely drop behind the third here and just take that sucker out. I mean, it's only got 553 HP. You'll punch through that shield real quick, and then just speed boost out of there to cut your losses. You might lose a little bit, but denying that third and keeping your own third at the cost of, I don't know, you could probably kill that Nexus with a 2-drop ship Marauder hit squad.
Yeah, no, and definitely, especially if you manage to pull the Protoss army out into the middle map like he just did, a single medevac. The Protoss army wouldn't got there in time, especially with that mothership core. I think it's still in the in between the natural and the main base. No recall ability. It wouldn't have gotten there in time to use that photonic overcharge or photon overcharge. It would have gone down, but. You know, FundManager isn't doing that. He's doing his own little thing. Finally, actually adding in some Hellbats along with a tactical nuke ghost. He saw the High Templar, so it looks like GeMiNi is playing a similar style that I like to play in a PvT if it does get to that point where get High Templars, and then as soon as he's but at the same time get a second robotics facility with a robo bay. So as soon as I see those ghosts start mass producing out those colossi, there won't be any Vikings on the field, and you'll have 3 or 4, maybe even sometimes even 5 robo bay or 5 colossi before your opponent knows what's going on.
I was going to say 5 robo bays like a boss. How many bases?
Well, that's only on 7A. That's really high level play that I really can't divulge at this time.
It's that Grandmaster.
Exactly. But now we see cheeky shenanigans going on by both players. We see a counter swing by GeMiNi, but at the same time, FundManager is attacking this third yet again. GeMiNi is just fully prepared for this. If Psionics storms do go down and exactly where you want to do, FundManager gets caught right in the middle. Most players, most of his units are in the red, but at the same time, Zealots do get into this SCV line, and oh, the damage, oh, the carnage. Finally, forces from FundManager, they're going to go sweep that up, clean that up very easily, but looking at the damage that was done, 17 workers killed, and still GeMiNi is chasing FundManager across the southern edge of the map. It looks like, looking at the income tab, we see the harvester count definitely favored GeMiNi. Not quite the saturation you would like on 3 bases. I would like to see GeMiNi with about, 10, maybe 11 more probes, but then again, what do I know? I'm just in lowly plat.
Oh, Bone, you need to quit being so damn humble. Now, I'd really like to see, because he's pulled that Protoss army out into the middle of the map. I want to say it's the 3rd time. That Nexus right now, it would be calling my name. I wouldn't be able to forget about that. I mean, maybe that's why I'm still in Diamond. I'm just, I smell blood and I go for it, and sometimes it's a trap. But I really would have liked to see him swing back around for that third, because that photon cannon at the bottom there at his third base hasn't been there for too long. I mean, this base is fortified now with these cannons and this High Templar for feedback, but that third was very much vulnerable.
And it was, and GeMiNi is taking his force. Both players are keeping a decent resource count. We see we're gonna see a danger zone coming in for FundManager. This is where you don't want to be at. The Colossus tech is being researched as we speak. Looks like GeMiNi is gearing up for drops of his own with his own warp prison that's going to be on the field. He's very secure, and going up against the death ball of the Protoss as a Terran, you don't want to do. You want to stop this before it gets to that point. And it's going to take some very interesting play by FundManager to be able to crawl his way back if GeMiNi is able to get himself to 3 or 4 Colossi that he needs. No! Oh, and look at that. Ghost was able to snipe the High Templar. No Psionic Storm was used, and GeMiNi is falling back to his natural expansion. And look at the EMPs that were used, not even needing Cloak to be able to hide them. More EMPs takes the entire Protoss army. This Protoss army is done. No way they are going to be able to hold up, especially without any Psionic Storms, without any shield. It melts, obliterated completely. Archon 0 shields, down with its 10 health. Exactly what I was talking about. Yep, FundManager was able to pull it off.
Yep.
Wow.
It's just I didn't really ever see any real tech from him. Like very low Colossus count, not a huge Templar count. Stuck mostly with gateway units. He was able to really defend those drops and the pressure that we saw, but at the same time, he didn't get that magical Protest Death Army that wins games without even microing.
Exactly. He was about a minute or 2 behind. If he would have had 2 or 3 Colossi, and really the observers were non-existent too. They weren't able to scout to see that those ghosts were just turning up. They didn't even need any sort of cloak to be able to EMP the entire Protoss army. Now it's going to be turned into a sort of a base trade kind of situation, but with a single Dark Templar in his main, GeMiNi's 3 Zealots in the 3rd expansion. I'm pretty sure FundManager really does got this in the bag.
Oh yeah, at this point, yeah, it's done because these Hellbats are just gonna tear apart these. Oh, or just run
Yeah.
away, either or.
They would be able to stand toe to toe with these zealots, but they're going to go ahead and retreat back to the comfort of their army. Finally, Cloak is in play on these ghosts. A couple are still alive, and it looks like GeMiNi manages to scrape his way back into fighting form. Finally, a Cloak does finish up on these ghosts, but really at what cost? I mean, we see this natural expansion is done. The main base is done. The third is up and running, and so is the, I guess, technically the fourth. There is still a DT hanging out in FundManager's base, so it looks like he's going to pull on back to try to take care of the single Dark Templar. And where did that command center? There it is. That Orbital Command went down to the natural expansion. So, wow, looking at the income time, we see 4 Harvesters. Wow, that DT did actually plenty of damage, 16 kills. Wow, 4 Harvesters, 4 FundManager. We might have jumped the gun on that one.
Yep. And there is my phone in the background. Anyway, yep. That DT is just hacking away. He's got about 3 scans, though. He should be able to clean this up outright. I feel like this is just a bit of delay at this point. This is Protoss's version of if they lift buildings.
Exactly. But I mean, looking at the units, we see single DT. It's going to clean up in a second. 14 Zealots, 2 Colossi, 3 Stalkers, 3 High Templar. Versus, I mean, look, the FundManager still has a nuke in his arsenal. 9 Marines, a Ghost, 4 Hellbats, and 3 Medevacs. This is going to be a very interesting fight, especially since, I mean, the army of FundManager is at 2-2. GeMiNi is at 3-3. No shields upgraded just yet. They are just being researched at the moment. And if FundManager could find this base, he has no idea that fourth base of GeMiNi is up and running. If he could find it, destroy it, it's pretty much going to be game over. Both these players playing ring around the rosy. These High Templar and Colossi are completely out of position. If they do get caught, a Sonic Storm does manage to get plenty of that Terran army, and look at that, 3 Colossi. GG, FundManager leaves. Wow. Looks like that damage that was done by the Dark Templar was enough. FundManager's economy was in shambles, and look at everyone leave the game. Wow. Wow. That's very interesting.
Yep,
I like that.
I really did not expect it to end that way, but that sometimes a ninja base can win games just
Exactly.
outright.
And looking at the units last time, I mean, everything is indicative of a standard PvT. But that single Dark Templar, that single counter attack by GeMiNi at the top of the map, as long with FundManager's not just, I would say, slightly passive usage of that medevac, of those medevacs, really just kind of lost him that game, in my opinion. So that was it for this replay. I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, leave comments down below on what you guys could do, or what we could do to make these more enjoyable for you. Also, if you guys have one of your own replays you'd like for us to cast, feel free to upload them to one of the major replay sites. Drop.ac is very popular. GG Tracker is also getting up there in skill level. That's it for me. Any parting words of wisdom, Nav?
Fuck bitches and get money.